All right, we are on to the Blackwater tank that we are going to somehow fit onto the trailer. So this should be fun. So I ordered a 14-gallon because all that's going to go in here is just the, let's say, the pee. So unfortunately, these don't come with the right adapter. So that adapter is currently on its way, and let's hope Amazon actually delivers it today. The other interesting things I got was this little downspout. So be able to run a hose up in there. I ordered this, and obviously this is not the right thing either, because then everything would have to be backwards, and that just wouldn't work. I also ordered some LEDs and some little electrode senders, so we might be able to kind of make our own gauge of how this is going to go. So I think now I'm going to show you where we're going to put this underneath the trailer. All right, so the composting toilet's right about here. So the line that's going to come off the composting toilet is going to have to go through this guy. But here we got open spaces, except for right about there, there's like a screw hanging out. So I got to grind that off. So we're going to put it right about here. And I kind of came up with a method last night of how to actually mount it. So just need to grind off that screw right there. I don't even know what that screw is for, but we're just going to grind the tip off of that. But let me show you how I'm thinking about mounting it. So keep in mind this little ledge right here, and how this side doesn't have a ledge because it's turned the other way. It'd be very ideal if it actually had a ledge, but... All right, so last night me and my son cut all of these boards. And then once we kind of figured out what we were doing, you see how it kind of has like this T-shape top. So the 2x4s were obviously too tall for them. So we had to cut basically a 1/2 of an inch off of every one, and that was fun getting into the night. So this is the thought. So this is basically upside down right now. This will be against the floor of the trailer. That little ledge that I was talking about is going to hold this side. And then this side, maybe we'll just drill holes into the side and bolt those in. And then on actually holding it up, we're going to have these boards right here, cut to length on both sides. And they're going to be holding the whole thing like that. So nothing's going to be protruding. This is the other reason I went with this tank, is because from, let's say, here to here is only 7 inches, where a lot of the other ones were like 9 inches, 10 inches, and the trailer's pretty low. So I just imagine this getting all kind of scuffed and scratched up, or even springing a leak. So I'm pretty happy with this. This is what we're going to do. Now, there's a lot of things to be thought about before all this gets mounted, such as right here, I need the sending unit and all the electrodes to go in. So I'm probably going to have to cut like a little bit of a groove in this. At most of 14 gallons, which this will probably never be full to 14 gallons. It should weigh about 116 to 17 pounds, which I don't imagine it ever getting that full. So we'll go pretty crazy with bolting everything together. So this is going to be bolted here, and then we'll space it out going down, bolting, and then here, there, 2 screws, and then spacing it out the same amount going up. And I think that should be relatively good. Obviously, we're going to bolt all that together. The other unfortunate thing is it'd be nice to just put all this nice and centered, but I think it needs to be slightly offset. So, and then, oh yeah, the most funnest part ever. Coming off of the toilet, this is the only thing that I could really find that was cheap. So somewhere in this region, I need a big old fat hole, and then I need to figure out how I'm threading this into that guy. So I guess one step at a time for now. So I'm going to grind off that little protruding screw. All right, got it all screwed together now. So there's a lot of friction on this because I kind of squeezed the boards into each other. So that's all pretty good. I might put this up underneath just to make sure that we got everything lined up and ready to go. I don't really want to put these top boards on just yet because this has to come back off so that I can put in the spout. And I'm not sure where that spout's going to go yet, whether it's going to go whether it's going to go here, 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 hopefully somewhere. So don't want to put that spout on just yet. Okay, so before I can figure out anything else down below, I really have to drill out this hole so that I could see exactly where it's coming over. And it'd just be kind of nice to have this part of it done. So I have a carbide hole drill or hole saw here, but you don't need carbide, you can just use a wood one. This is a 1 3/8, which will be just perfect for this elbow because the elbow is going to poke up here, possibly, because it's got to go through the floor. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's actually going to poke up. I mean, maybe, because the floor's pretty thick. So I don't know, maybe I'll double check that before I drill the hole, but just need to drill the hole and then so I can figure out how much it's got to go over. Found it. All right, now that we have the hole and we can run this up from the bottom, we can now start to figure out some stuff. All right, so here's the hole we drilled out. Here's the elbow. I'd like to secure this elbow in there so that I know what we're doing. So I got some plumber's tape here, and I'm gonna use the plumber's tape to secure it, at least for now. So that way I can mess around with this, take some actual dimensions, and not worry about messing it up or moving it or any of those things. All right, so that's pretty stout and secure now. Can always readjust it. So this is like 1 inch. So these are only 1/2 inch. So that's pretty good. So now I'm able to, I guess, kind of figure out where the hole right here needs to go from here, even though this piece right here is at an angle. So I guess I'm gonna have to go from the side of the trailer, and then I might have to go down slightly because I don't know if I can actually drill. Anyways, we're gonna figure that part out. Just have to start somewhere and work your way over. So if I can lock up everything inside the bathroom and then I'm just worried about everything underneath, that would be great. All right, so we're ready to dive into this. I'm gonna use the clear cleaner. Getting everything all nice and cleaned up here. All right, I'm gonna try, and I repeat try, not to make a mess with the purple primer. So I feel like I've made a mess with this before. And boy, howdy, does it never want to come out of anything. Well, just like that, we locked in now. So I bought some spiral clamps, and I had just had this hose laying around, but I believe the hose is a bit too big. So what I was hoping to do was, I was hoping to crush it down on it just to see if that would work. I'm not sure that it will. Oh, seemed to work on the top. Let's see if we can't get this on the bottom now. Well, it seemingly crushed it down. Well, that seemed to have gotten it, I guess. So I guess we'll go with that. Now let's get to work on the bottom. All right, so I measured over to see where this needs to be. And kind of got it a little bit. There you go. That's a hole. And luckily we got it pretty much at the top there, so now we can run a line from here to over there, right to where the tank's gonna be, hopefully. So I think now we could actually bring over the tank platform and just kind of wedge it up and see where it's gonna want to be. Fairly lined up there. Oh, cool. All right, so I marked out the hole, and now I'm gonna attempt to drill it out, and hopefully I don't mess anything up. That's like our stick. Let me see if I just kind of push on this really hard. Can I get it to start to tap or not? Seems like it needs to be slightly bigger, which we might be able to do with the reamer. There it is. All right, so this is probably one of the harder parts, I think. All right, I'm gonna see what I have to actually seal that up now. All right, so I just drilled that out. And then I started using the reamer a bunch. So I used the reamer to actually get it started in there, and then I just used some Gorilla Ultimate construction adhesive to glue it on. So now that I have that exactly where it needs to be, because we marked out the frame, I think now we're gonna start locking it in, but I have all the sensors to put in, so I'm gonna start drilling and putting all the sensors in. All right, so now that I got that in, I'm now working on the makeshift sensor with these little plugs right here. So basically all you're doing is drilling the hole, putting it in, and then you're tightening this inner nut down, and it's flaring out this grommet. So you want to put the first one as low as possible in here so that this will be the power in, and these ones higher up will be the power out. So it's kind of gross, but your fluid that is in there will complete the circuit. So we're gonna try it out, see how it goes. So I'm gonna have this one obviously down low, and then these ones are gonna be spaced up a little bit, and I'm gonna see how it goes. I can have 5 different levels, and because of where this is at and where it's coming in, I don't assume that we're gonna get this high. You know what I mean? Like before we start trying to dump stuff. So I'm just gonna measure out and then start drilling holes. All right, so I decided to space them out 1.25 inches a piece. And then the final one gets me about level with my drain in. So with this white fitting down here. So if I'm there, it's an emergency, let's just say. All right, so it looks like Swiss cheese right now. Now all we got to do is shove these in. They might be a little too tight, but I'd personally prefer them to be a little too tight. And if it's a little too tight, just walk the drill around a little bit. And then it just fits right in there. All right, I marked off, I kind of loosely installed this, but I marked off where I drilled that hole and right about where this is gonna go. So I'm gonna use a hole saw right there and try to drill through this and see how it goes. All right, there we go. So now I'll probably just get like a little handsaw to square this out. And I think we're doing pretty good. All right, so in my frame right here, I got this little U shape, and I'm gonna do it with this plunge router thing that I've never used before. Let's hopefully it works. So what I'm gonna do and why I need to do that is because right where these, I need a relief for those. So especially these ones at the top. So gotta cut. So let's see how it goes. All right, so this is where we are at. I got all this tidied up. Unfortunately, because of the way it kind of falls in the bottom of the trailer, this right here couldn't be a full 2x4. So just is what it is, but we're gonna go line it up and then try to get this tube lined up and notched in. And yeah. All right, we are attempting to put this on. Right, putting on the cleaner and all right, we have successfully cleaned everything. So we have to put this on with it down there. And then once it's on there, slide it through here and then plug it into there. So got to do that first. All right, so this purple stuff is the thing that gets everywhere. This is what melts the plastic. Alrighty. All right, that is one now. Okay, you got to get your side up more. Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to do this without getting it all over myself. Need your help? Look. Get your side in. Up. Straight. Okay, so we're literally leaving on the road trip tomorrow. I had to run to the hardware store, get some lag bolts. So we're gonna screw this in right there. So I gotta drill a big enough hole for this first. Okay, that's in. Oop, that's really hot. So now it's just a little, I'm just doing a little drill. Just enough so the wood that hopefully doesn't just split open on us. Okay. And now is that hole big enough? Okay. Well, good morning. We are vastly approaching, hopefully, when I am going to be done with this. Because currently, right now, it's like 5 something in the morning, and I am ready to go. Family's still sleeping right now. I'm just prepping everything that I didn't get done at 8 or 9 last night. So this valve right here, I would say it barely fits. And I mean barely. Like there's not necessarily even enough room to rotate this. So when I put it in, I have to go like that. So when this stuff kicks off, you don't really get a lot of time for this at all. Just making sure all the water is actually out of this. This is not a place where you would like to have a leak, I'm just saying. And it's also a place where I would not want to have any of this dripping in the bathroom. Pretty sure my wife would not appreciate that. All right. Putting that around this. Putting that around this. All right. That is going in there. And then this is going down here. Well, broke the cute little pin off to hold that, unfortunately. Can't really see anything I'm doing here. Yeah. So probably going to get some plumber's tape to make sure that this is not banging against the trailer like that, but I believe we're on, hopefully. Yeah. All right, so that looks good. All right, so now I'm just going to get some plumber's tape to kind of bolt this up to this so that this is not just as we're driving down the road. All right, so I got you under here. There's that plumber's tape. It's kind of going around on both sides just like that, which now makes this still loose enough to kind of flex, but not loose enough to be banging all the way down the road. So now I got to get to all of this wiring, and then I think we're done. Okay, so I'm done getting all the wire routed. It's all heat shrinked. I got it going through the bulkhead. Got it going into the trailer. Then it is coming out right there with the heat shrink. So I'm thinking about putting the LEDs right about there. So I could put them above the light switch, but then that would add more work for me. I was thinking just a row of them right here. So if you could see this, it's like a flush mount. So it has like this little collar that you just shove the LED through. And then, so hopefully it's just the LEDs sticking out. So I'm just going to measure out right here and I don't know, see what I come up with. All right, I think that looks pretty cool. I lined it up to the center of the light switch so that it all looks coherent and going down. They're spaced out a 1/2 inch each. So on your application, just find something to measure against. So I measured against this, found the center of that, and then once I went down, just went. So now we're going to go inside, solder it up. I'm going to use a lot of heat shrink connections. All right, got it all wired in to the switches, all the LEDs. I might do some tie wrapping later. But pretty excited about how all of that looks. So there's nothing in there currently. All right, so I'm turning on the switch, and then I'm gonna go put a jumper between the leads. All right, first one, there's green. Next green, there's yellow. Next yellow. And then the red's kind of hard to get to. There it is, red. I'll pick this back up when we're at a campsite or somewhere on the road trip where it's built up enough so that when you turn on the switch, it's actually making some connections. Pick you up then. All right, so a little bit of an update on the tank. Not sure what's going on. So the LEDs, it's kind of interesting. So the more it gets filled up, the more current that it produces and the brighter that they get. At first, this one was kind of like a darker green, and now it's the same brightness of that one. I thought like they maybe gave me 2 different kinds of LEDs, but so that's interesting. But the part that is leaking, if I can get down here without getting like destroyed, has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the stupid valve. So it's leaking at the valve. So I'm not sure quite how we're going to fix that. Maybe with some silicone or something like that. So I think we're gonna have to take it easy, but we're gonna go dump it off right now for the first time. And then we're just gonna have to silicone this valve. So this right here, if you see, like if you think it's like tweaked or not touching, like it's actually loose. So yeah, we're gonna have to use some silicone. Maybe we'll stop at a hardware store and see what we can find. But yeah, so it's the part that I didn't have anything to do with, just the part that was off the shelf, which is a good feeling. All right, so we're at another campground. We're still kind of dealing with some of the issues of the Blackwater tank that we're just using for the liquids. And so when it's on, it seems like it's leaking from the top. Now, this is a good quality unit made by a brand name, so like, but the part that this plugs into is a Amazonian brand, so I'm not sure. So what I'm gonna do is put on some plumber's putty just around there to kind of build up, because I can kind of see it when it's on. It's like sealed at the bottom but not at the top, so it's almost like it's not getting held at the top. And I looked, and the top clip is going around the right thing. So we flushed out the tank now at a new campground. Luckily, this campground actually had a running water and a sewer at our site. So I think we're gonna try this, and I'll pick you back up in a second when I get it all rolled out. So apparently you're not supposed to put this on plastic unless it works, because you know what happens if it works. Why touch it at that point? If it's sealing, why fix it? Alright, so I put it on there, and it's probably just going to make this thing 1,000 times harder to actually get on there. So what we're hoping is that whatever gap is there, this is going to take up. And then that's exactly what we're hoping. We're just hoping that it's sealed and we're on the road so that it is fine. All right, so I'm gonna try to get it back on now. All right, so got it back on, and you can see the plumber's putty is actually kind of like pushed up and around it. It looks like it's sealing it all the way. So I guess I'll let you know if it's actually sealing it up or if it's still dripping. So I guess we will see. All right, so we are at the last campground, and we have not experienced any drips. And as you can see up here, we have at least 2 light up bars of fluid. So this is working out well now. I did notice that the gasket, when we were at the last campsite, that was like, I don't know, 1,500 miles ago, that gasket was a little bit twisted. So we untwisted it, but we still put on all the plumber's putty. So I do think that in a pinch, the plumber's putty with this 4-prong kind of plug-in kind of fitting will definitely seal up the leak. Let's see if I can show you from the side there. So that is the end of this road trip. We are currently at Pinnacles National Park. We drove all over the country. We drove probably 4,600 miles plus. We went to Bernie Falls. We went to Crater Lake. And then we went to Mount Rainier, North Cascades, Olympic National Park, Tillamook, Washington. So the trailer's been all over the place. This has been drug all over the place. And in a future video that you don't know yet, yes, the trailer actually fell off of the Tahoe at speed, and that got bent and tweaked. So stay tuned for that and how we fix that. So there's a lot of stuff currently going on, and that's why the wheels are currently strapped on. So stay tuned for that, but the Blackwater tank is working and just got all that fixed out. The LEDs are working. Pretty cool. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more exciting videos from the road trip of stuff happening. So see you next time.